Can you get something for nothing in life? I think we all agree that you cannot get something for nothing. You have to first put something in before you get something out. Even though most people would agree with that, what they won't agree with is that you can't give something for nothing. Maybe because it's harder to give for most people than it is to receive. Although I do know people, and I've struggled with this myself sometimes, to receive a good gift. What is the first thing we say sometimes? Oh no, you don't have to do that. And we dismiss the giver. We eliminate the joy he will receive from giving to us by not wanting to accept the gift. When in reality, we just need to say thank you. Thank you very much. And thus we allow the flow of giving and receiving to continue in our lives. Because it's a flow. Just like for in, there's out. For up, there's down. For give, there's take. And when you take, you give. That's the way life works. You plant a seed in the ground, and a crop grows up. But it doesn't happen immediately. And sometimes you have to plant a lot of seeds. But granted, if you plant enough seeds, you're going to grow a crop. I've got 3 baby chihuahuas in the room, and they were quiet, but now they're not. But we're going to continue to press on here. Although they're distracting me somewhat because they're fighting with their mother. So that's 4 chihuahuas in the room. So whatever you give out in life comes back to you multiplied. Now this law works both ways. Whatever you take in life from others will be taken from you multiplied. Now whether or not that's true as far as if you take 5 eggs from someone's going to take 15 or 20 from you. But when it comes back to you, whatever you've taken, when it's taken from you, I know it seems like, or you feel like it's more. But these things are not punishment from a God in the heavens who's looking down on you and he's been taking notes of everything you've been doing. We are made this way. There are certain universal laws, God's laws, whatever you want to call them, that structure the universe that causes these things to happen. We are designed in a way that we can learn from these mistakes we make. Because it's one thing well, let's use this example. Well, what they don't know don't hurt them. And how many times have people used that to justify cheating on their girlfriend or cheating on their husband or doing something a little deceitful or not completing the job in the way it's supposed to be done, even though the homeowner or the client or whoever will never know? Well, the homeowner, the client, the boyfriend, the wife, the husband, they may never know, but you will know. And that causes a reaction within yourself that eventually brings about a consequence of this action. Some people see it as a punishment from God or the Czar of the heavens or whoever. But it's just a consequence. And from these consequences, we can learn. In my case, for example, when I hit about 29 or 30 years old, I was in my apartment all by myself. And I had that emptiness, that feeling of hopelessness. And I looked in the mirror, and I didn't look much different then than I do now. That was about 30 years ago. Of course, I got a few more wrinkles now, but I hated what I saw. But what I saw was not the reflection in the mirror. What I saw was reflecting back to me was the selfishness, the people I had hurt, the things I had done wrong, that I felt guilty about, the shame, the remorse, regret, all those things. And I walked into my bedroom that night And I thought to myself, here you are all alone. And why is that? Because all you've ever thought about was yourself. Now, of course, I did things for other people, but most of the time there was an underlying motive of this person owes me something, if nothing else, loyalty. So I thought that night, and I didn't change overnight, but I thought, well, this is how it works. You reap what you sow, you get what you give. Whatever you put out there in life comes back to you multiplied. So from that day, or soon after that, I started doing things for other people. Well, it may have been a while after that. I had to wallow in that self-pity and remorse and guilt and shame for quite some time. But what I've learned since then is if I help other people to achieve their goals, their dreams, their desires, however small or grand they may be, then guess what? Other people are going to help me with my goals, my dreams, my desires, my needs. Now, the mistake people make, and I've probably made this too, I can't think of any specific times, but we expected back from I can think of a specific time. We expected back from the person we give to, or the institution, or whoever or whatever we give to. But it rarely comes back directly from where you gave. But it will come back. And it does not come back usually immediately. More often than not, it comes back sometime down the road. And usually, sometimes you've forgotten all about that good deed that you've done. But we have to remember, even when something happens to us that we consider bad, or when something comes back to us we consider good, that sometime in the past, more than likely, we have done something for someone else. And we are reaping from that seed of goodness that we sowed many months ago, maybe weeks, years ago. Just as we reap from that seed that we sowed of selfishness years ago. And that's where the problem lies. We don't remember. We don't remember the thought, the deed, the thing we did for someone or to someone. But it all comes back to us. And it's amazing that they don't teach these things in school. These are universal laws that have been talked about for centuries, for thousands of years. And yet, it's not taught in school. Our imagination is a wonderful tool, and I speak of this a lot. Our imagination, our thoughts, everything that you see, including whatever device you're watching me on, was created within the mind of man before it ever became what we call a reality. But let's look at things a little differently. And I think I spoke about this yesterday. The reality, the truth of the thing, situation, whatever it may be, was in the thought. And it still is in the thought. And whatever that thought created in the outer world of manifestation, reality as we call it, will pass away. Whatever you're watching me on, whatever device, eventually that will rust, corrode, be destroyed, turn in for a new phone if you're watching me on a phone, computer, whatever. But the thought, the imaginative beginning of that device will live forever. Now you might ask me, how do you know that? Well, I guess I don't know. People who say they know don't really know. I know from my experience. I know from studying, from reading, and from listening to people who have a lot of wisdom. That's as close as I can say that I actually know. But you don't have to believe anything I say. Just try it. Try it and think about it. Contemplate how your life is and how you've created some things in your life, whether it be a relationship, a material thing, a job, money, problems, crises. All these things begin in your imagination. How many times have you found yourself arguing with someone in your head, and then eventually that argument takes place in the world of what we call reality? That all began in your mind. Wayne Dyer says, change your thinking, change your life. Everything begins with a thought. Do you ever have thoughts pop into your head and you think, where in the hell did that come from? You wonder, you weren't even thinking about, maybe you were thinking about your job or the fun you're going to have on your vacation. All of a sudden this crazy thought pops into your head. These thoughts are living, existing things, and you don't actually create any of them. They come to you. Some of them, if you took action on them, might get you in trouble. But remember this, a lot of trains pass through the station, but you don't have to get on every train. And a lot of thoughts will pass through your mind, but you don't have to start dwelling on any of them. You have the power to choose what you're going to think, and your dominant thinking will direct your actions, and your actions will lead to the results you have in life. What is the difference between you and someone who you deem more successful than you? It's the way he or she thinks, because from their thoughts stem their actions, and their actions produce the results in their lives. I'm not one of these people that believe you can just think something and the law of attraction is just going to come to you. Although I've had some things happen like that. But I still had to take action. One thing that pops into my mind immediately was when I bought this house 10 years ago, I would sit there and look out on my second story porch. And I thought how nice it would be to have some furniture out there, that I could sit out there and enjoy the weather, whatever. And I thought, well, I could go to Walmart and buy some or somewhere. Maybe I could look in the paper and someone had some used things for sale. And I passively thought about it and I'd let it go. And one day I got a call from some clients I was working for, and they said, hey, Mark, we're changing the pool furniture and we wondered if you would like to have it. I said, well, sure, I'd like to have it. So I went down and picked it up, and guess what? It sat right there on my porch and looked just like what I was imagining. Now, I believe I brought that to myself by thinking about it. Now, is that a coincidence? Possibly. Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. But remember, I did have to take action. I did have to answer the phone. I did have to accept it, and I had to go pick it up and haul it back home. And many things like that have happened in my life. Now, some people call that faith, belief, law of attraction. Now, whatever you fear, that's a magnet too. If you think long enough and allow your dominant thinking to be on something you fear, you will bring that into your life too. That is a magnet also. So you must be vigilant about what thoughts you allow to remain in your head and stay there. Now, I don't watch the news. I happen to be strolling through some clips on social media. The clickbait, and even that will put a twinge of fear into me. And even though I know that the clickbait, the headlines, is just trying to get you to click on and say, hey, what's going on? And some of the guys I like, and I used to listen to, but I don't need that fear in my life. I don't want that fear in my life. Like I said, I don't watch the news. I am very careful about what I allow to come into my mind. And you need to be also, because that will determine your thinking. We are influenced by our environment and the things that come to us through our environment. Put yourself around 5 or 10 successful people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you will be amazed at how your thinking will change to abundance and prosperity instead of thinking of lack and how you're going to get by. I know people say, well, you need to think more about money and you'll attract it into your life. And it's true. But then someone will turn around and say, I think about money all the time. Yes, that's true, but what do they think about money? They're thinking about they don't have enough, they got to work all the time, the bills are too much, inflation. They think about how everything is too much money, how they don't have enough money, how they wish they had more money. They're thinking lack. They don't think about the trillions and trillions of dollars flying through the air in radio waves. Well, it's not radio waves, whatever they call it. I mean, money is just a bunch of zeros and numbers nowadays. We still have cash, and I hope we keep cash. But it's really just, it's going through the air all the time. But they don't think about that. They think about $1 million as a lot of money. In the scheme of things in the world, $1 million is nothing. And they also think that $1 million would change their whole life. Well, I like the old saying, and I say it a lot. If you inherit $1 million or win the lottery, you better become a millionaire, because that money will soon be gone. Unless you have the consciousness of a millionaire, in contrast of the consciousness of poverty, that money will not last, because you do not know how to handle it. If you're still thinking lack, if you're still thinking, how am I going to pay the rent? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? It doesn't matter if it's $10 million. It will soon be gone, and you may be in more financial trouble afterward than when you first received it. I know some people find it hard to believe when they think that if they just had enough money, their problems would be over. There are so many problems that money can't solve. I heard someone say once, if you have a problem that can be solved with money, then you don't really have a problem. It's hard to believe that when you can't pay the rent, when your electric is going to be shut off tomorrow unless you pay it. And I've been in those situations in my life. One of the reasons is because I was connected intimately with a person who had a poverty consciousness, and that drug me down. Am I blaming that person? No. I made the choice to be with that person. I made the choice to stay with that person, and eventually it started pulling me down into poverty thinking also. So it's something to think about when you're considering marrying someone or getting into a relationship with someone, whether it be business or personal, because whatever you're around, you will become part of. Keep that in mind when you're choosing your friends or your girlfriend, your wife, your lover, whatever, business partner. Very important. I remember when I used to box, I used to shoot pool, I did triathlons. I found people that was better than I, because it made me better. Now, it's more comfortable to be around people that you're better than, but you don't grow. You don't stretch to be more. Find people. What is the old saying? If there's 5 people in the room and you're the smartest person in that room, you're in the wrong room. There's a lot of wisdom in that. If you desire to become more, to grow, to expand, and I've said this before too, the universe is constantly expanding. This is a scientific fact, if you believe in the science. I'm not sure whether it's true, but it makes sense to me, and I'm going with it. So if we are expanding along with the universe, then we have fulfillment, happiness, a sense of accomplishment as men. Not sure about women. I'm not a woman. But if you're contracting, contraction leads to depression. And to expand, we need to be around people and creating situations in our lives that cause us to stretch, to reach, to expand, to grab for more. Now, not to the point where you're unhappy because you don't have that more yet. You can be happy and content with what you have, and you need to be grateful and appreciative for what you have, but always striving for more. Because as a man, this is what fuels us to continue on with our lives. The constant service of other people in humanity, to give what you have been given. One of my first mentors told me, when he was helping me out, he said, I'm just passing on what was passed on to me. And when you get big and strong like me, you are going to pass on this, what I've passed on to you. And that's what I've done. And when I do that, my life is filled with almost an electricity, a joy, an energy that I get in no other way. It's the joy, it's the power, it's the strength of service. And if you look around, whether you like all these people or not, some of the greatest successes in the world and throughout history have been the greatest servants. Whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant. These dogs. All right, I'm going to stop on that one. Whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant. We are all servants, and we're here to serve each other. All right? That's my cue. All right, take care. Have a great day. Like and subscribe. Share this with a friend if you think it will be of value to them. Take care.